Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay.
We good?
Yes. All right, let's try to start this over. Sorry,
Okay.
we had technical difficulties. Um, but hello everyone. Welcome to the Cincinnati Herald Influencer Show, where young people share their voices. I will be your host today. My name is Deja Mapp, and we're going to talk about. So we're going to have a discussion with a teacher, and she's going to share her different perspectives on students doing in-person learning as well as distant learning. And also, you can find us on CincinnatiHerald.com this week, as well as Zoom Live, and as well as on Zoom and Facebook Live. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Marquita Curry.
Hello, everyone. I'm Marquita Curry. I am a teacher in Cincinnati Public Schools at Cheviot Elementary. I'm going into my 13th year of teaching, and I'm excited to be with you all today. This has been a crazy year, especially for educators, so I'm happy to share my perspective with you all.
Okay, great. So I've known Miss Marquita Curry since I was a child because she did dance with my sister on the High Steppers, but I really started getting to know her when I was her student at Carpe Diem Aiken in her 8th grade English class. She was an amazing teacher. I would just throw that out there. I really learned a lot from her. And I also looked in your bio and your background. You went to UC and you got your bachelor's in middle childhood and received your master's in literacy education.
Yeah.
And now you're working on getting your license at Xavier University for administration, educational principalship.
Yeah.
So I guess my first question is, what inspired you to be a teacher or just to work in education?
Okay. So for as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a teacher. Since I was a kid, I loved to play school, and I was always the teacher. As I got older, I knew that when I went to college, I was going to go into education. I started off with a minor in psychology, and then once I got into like my internship and being able to work with kids, it's just been a passion of mine forever. It wasn't until I worked at Carpe Diem where I figured that I wanted to go into administration. I really was able to watch some great educators and great leaders in my experiences, and so I was inspired by them. While I was at Aiken, I taught English, and that experience was new for me because I had always taught elementary school. So having that experience, it really gave me a broader perspective on education and where education has failed a lot of our kids. And I saw that more than anything when I worked at Carpe Diem Aiken. And then after that, I moved to Rothenburg, which is in Cincinnati Public Schools, and I taught 6th grade there. And those two experiences especially gave me the inspiration to want to go into administration. I was kind of put into a leadership role where I had to do more of the administrative parts of teaching, and I was able to be like team leader and, working with the teachers more than just the kids. And that really drove me to want to go into administration. So I finished all the coursework at Xavier. I just have to take the state test, and I was going to take it this month, but with so much going on with the reopening of school, I think I'm just going to wait until we start, however we're going to start, which is remote now. And I have to study a little bit for the test, but I'm hoping that I pass it so that I can fully get my licensure to be an administrator. And I want to be in a public school. I want to stay in Cincinnati Public. I really do love my district. I love working for Cincinnati Public, and I believe I want to move beyond the classroom. I feel like the 4 walls of the classroom are kind of closing in on me. And I feel like I could do a little bit more if I go into administration.
Right.
So I'm excited to move in this next step.
That's great. Because have you ever thought about, I know you've kind of always worked with elementary, but have you ever thought about working with high schoolers or any older grades?
I did. When I worked with the older grades, I loved the kids. I loved the conversations we would have. I love the content, but elementary has always been, actually middle school. Like, so I'm certified 4th through 9th grade. And I really like that age of kids. Like absolutely love 5th graders. I love 6th graders. And so I would really want to stay in that, so I would really want to stay in an elementary school, but I'm not throwing it out the window. It's just right now, I just feel like if I was to go into administration, I would want it to be with middle school and elementary kids, because they just, high school kids complicate things. They are no holds barred. They say whatever they want to. And, I really enjoy the younger kids. That's kind of why I left Aiken. Like, I loved working there, but it wasn't really where I wanted to be. I wanted to be in an elementary building.
Do you think with being in elementary, you can kind of mold the students at an early age and give them a little bit more, I guess, insight and getting them prepared for the older grades? Is that why you like it a little bit more?
Yeah, I do. And one thing about being a teacher is teachers are like the biggest factor in a child's success. It's not the school you go to. It's not necessarily your principal. It's really the teacher. If you think about everybody who has a story, a lot of the times it's because they had a special teacher in their life that really impacted them and molded them, or said something to them, or made them feel special, that carried them throughout their life, honestly. And we can always think about those other teachers who weren't so influential, or who weren't the best role model, or who didn't think so highly of them, and that sticks with people as well. So the teacher is the main person in a child's life that can have so much influence, which is why it's so hard that we're not able to be with our kids starting off this school year, because kids really do get a lot from their teachers. And I just feel like, as far as the younger kids in the middle school, I just like the swagger of a middle school child. Like, they're not too young. You can have a conversation with them, but they're not too old to think they're grown. So I just think it's like a good, solid age to still have impact. When, a lot of high school kids, you can still impact them as well. But as that middle age is when they're most, vulnerable from either going, here, left or right. Like, I teach 4th grade reading. That is that point. Our boys, if they don't like that reading, they really, really have a hard time being successful throughout school. It's that pivotal age.
Yeah, I totally get that. I know I'm a college student, and I'm like, God, I wish I was at school, because I was able to get that help and that assistance with my professors.
Absolutely.
And I have a lot of nieces and nephews that are entering into either high school or getting ready to graduate high school, or even the younger ones who are going into kindergarten, and they are really disappointed about not being able to go to school and see their teachers.
Absolutely.
And that, when I was online, I saw that Superintendent Laura Mitchell is pushing back in-person learning until maybe September 28th. Yes. Do you have any thoughts and decisions about that?
I think it's the right decision. I know that all educators want to be back in the buildings. We want to be teach. We don't want to do this remote learning teaching. We don't want kids to be out of school. It's not what's best for them. But I think Laura Mitchell's position is the safety of not just the kids, but the entire school, family, and community. We have a lot of teachers who may be older and have underlying health conditions. There are kids who have underlying health conditions. And our county, Hamilton County, is still in a level 3, which is a red level, which means the contactability of the virus is passed very easily. And when you have kids who aren't going to be kids, you know, and they come from all walks of life, when you have that many people in one central area, is very likely that someone will get sick. And I feel like for the safety of the students, the staff, the teachers, I feel like superintendents, you know, especially one of a large district like Cincinnati Public, you know, we have 50 schools, 36,000 students. So, you know, your smaller districts may be able to do that, where they can go in and, you know, do their learning face to face. But, you know, she has to think about a whole community. You know, Cincinnati Public is the third largest in the state. So she is responsible for those as a superintendent. So I feel like the decision she made was data driven. You know, it's based off of the numbers. Like on July 31st, the number skyrocketed again. And she waited, you know, to see, because a lot of parents are upset about this. You know, childcare is a huge issue. But at the end of the day, the safety is the number one, you know, that takes number one precedence over everything. And I feel like hopefully if our numbers go down, we'll be able to go back into the buildings by the end of September.
Yeah, I know just from personally, I go back to school tomorrow.
Okay.
And my parents are really gun-ho on me staying home and just doing all online. And I understand, because, you know, that is a scary thing to do, especially for children, because they don't necessarily, I mean, they understand, but they don't understand at the same time, because like, well, I want to play with my friends, or I want to, you know, touch things and stuff like that.
Right.
So for the students that's going to be at home and the parents that's going to be at home, do you have any advice for them to go about doing online studies, and how the parents can potentially help the students, you know, because they're going to be helping them a lot more since they're going to be at home, and just make sure that everything is still like they're still engaged and motivated to do their schooling?
Absolutely. So with the online learning piece, parents have to understand that kids are still in school. So make the kids feel like they're in school. Like I know in the spring, we had a lot of kids that would just kind of roll out of bed and try to be on a Zoom meeting. Treat this like they're in school. Make them get up. Make them put their clothes on. Hold them accountable. Give them breakfast. Make it like a real school day for your kids. Don't just allow them. I know for our district, our kids are required to be on at a certain time. That wasn't the case in the spring, but this time it is a school day. You are up at 8:30. You know, you are in your classes. Everybody will have a device, so there's no excuse. And you know, our district is providing internet too, so there's no excuse. So if parents, if they treat it like school, it will be easier for them to navigate this whole situation. I know it's going to be difficult, because in some cases, the parents won't be the ones that are monitoring them. You know, they may have to go to a daycare provider, a grandma, or, you know, an auntie, or somebody who's taking care of them while they are, you know, at work. So if whoever it is that's, you know, taking care of the students who are in school, they need to be making sure that the kids are engaged in their learning from beginning to end. If they have a specific schedule, it needs to be followed, so that they get so that when they go back to school, it's not like culture shock, because it is the expectation that kids are working all day like they would be at school. And I feel like if parents do that, it will be a lot easier. The teachers will be teaching. They don't have to teach their kids. All they have to do is kind of monitor, supervise, and if parents are working while they're working, sit them at the table right next to you. If they're at an age where they can sit there, you do your work, let your child sit there and do their work, and just make the best of it. That's all you really can do in these times. Like, I hate that we have to go through this, but it's what's best. It's what's best right now.
Right. I understand you have children and you're also a teacher. So how do you help your kids through these terrible times, especially with their social and emotional well-being? And how do you focus on your social and emotional well-being as well, since you have to juggle with both your children and as well as being a teacher?
Yes, that's been the hardest thing, because we still haven't even determined whether or not we're going to be working from home or from school. So they haven't told us that yet. So I may even have to try to juggle where I'm gonna have my kids if I have to go in to teach remotely, because some districts are requiring that even though the kids are working online, they're requiring teachers to go into their buildings to do their online teaching. We haven't gotten that direction yet, but my kids, I'm nervous about it. I have my husband in the spring, but I won't have him this time. So my daughter, she's pretty self-sufficient. She'll be in the 3rd grade. So I can kind of put her in her room, and she can kind of self-direct herself. She's one of those type of students. My son is a different story. He is going to need to sit very close to me while he is doing his work, because he's young. He's only 6. He's in 1st grade. So he's going to need a lot more support than my daughter. They are not happy about staying home. They want to go back to school. They want to see their friends. It's that social and emotional piece is very difficult to tackle, because kids, they're used to being with their peers. They're used to being able to socialize and have fun. It's really hard on your older kids, because they've made solid friendships over the years. They're in schools that they've been in school with these same kids since kindergarten, and for them to not be able to interact with them except for seeing them over a computer, it's very difficult. Another thing about the social and emotional piece is, kids who are in homes that, could be abusive, or homes that don't have adequate, care for them. They've been in that situation since March. So that is another situation that we'll have to tackle and face. I know for us, there were kids in my class that I did not see through the whole pandemic. We were never able to reach their parents. They were never on a Zoom meeting. We couldn't get in touch with them. And so all of these factors, it really causes anxiety for teachers. Like it's a lot to think about. Like, I've never worked so much in my life, trying to think about everything. We've been in meetings and trying to figure out what we're going to do to best serve these kids, because they will suffer, but we have to get through it. That's all we can do at this point. The whole world is trying to figure out what's best, but it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot.
Yes. Yeah. I know. I watch my nieces and nephews, and my sister Kendra.
Yeah.
So she used to be a teacher, and she makes sure that they're doing their work and more work, and I will babysit them, and I'll help them with their work. And my little niece, Zion, she was just entering into kindergarten, so she was very disappointed in not going back to see her teachers and see her friends. And she kind of understood, but it's like same time she didn't. Like, I don't know why I can't go back. But what for the older students, I know, like you said, they have created these bonds and friendships, and
Absolutely.
It's like, oh dang, I can FaceTime them or whatever, I could do, but it's not the same as seeing them in person.
Right.
So
and then you think they didn't get to finish out a school year. They they didn't get all those awards or fun stuff you do at the end of the school year, and it's very hard on our kids. It's very hard. Like kids
Yes.
have never wanted to go to school so bad.
Yes. Yeah, I know. For as me, although I'll be a this year was supposed to be like kind of more of my breakout year because I was going to be a junior, and it was just supposed to be a fun year. And I was like, well, dang, I can't do
I
majority of.
know.
But for as you working at Cheviot school, did you guys have any professional development resources over the spring, and do you have any possibly coming up during the fall for the students and the teachers, just in case if they need to talk to a counselor or just talk to anyone in general because of the horrible pandemic and things normal as they used to be?
Right. So our teachers, we have professional development for social and emotional learning. That's going to be strictly targeted to how to help students, navigate this pandemic. Most of our schools in our district have like a school-based mental health services. So like our school has Beach Acres. And we have counselors that are on site that are able to assist students who may have trouble getting back into the swing of things, or even just need someone to talk to. And most of your schools in the CPS district does have this school-based partnership. It's going to take a village. Like the big thing about this is the importance of the village. I remember Laura Mitchell saying, if we want our kids back in school, the numbers have to go down as in the community, So if we want our kids to be able to get back to normal, it's going to take the efforts of the entire community to do so, wearing of the mask and, limiting our social gatherings so that our kids can go back to school. So if nothing else, the community has to come together. And that's the same thing with kids and their social and emotional well-being. Like, it's going to take a village to help. Parents have to be on board. Schools are going to have to be on board. The teachers are going to have to be on board, and, administration, because we don't know what this is going to look like when we go back. We don't know if we're going to be able to go back in September. Hopefully we will, but everything is uncertain. And that causes a lot of anxiety for kids, It just really does, not knowing, sometimes a school is a refuge for kids, and they've not had that, since March. So it's a lot to think about. We're doing a face-to-face orientation where small groups of kids will come that first week of school, and we're going to give them their materials, and we're going to let them see us face to face. And then another group will come in after they've, cleaned and sanitized. So I'm really excited about that, just because, kids can come back to the school only for a day, but, it kind of does give them something to be excited about once they do return.
That's good. That sounds like you guys are doing a lot of things to definitely help with the anxiety and the pressures of all that's going on for your students and your teachers, because I know that for us, like Ohio State, we're receiving emails, but we're still stressed out because it's like, are we closing? Are we not?
So what did they tell y'all that Ohio State will be doing?
Uncertainty and unknown. But we are getting closer to our time, so I do have one last question for you.
Okay.
And it was assuming appropriate school safety measures are in place later in the fall, returning to school, what would be necessarily your preference? Do you think you will go back, or do you want to resort back to just distant learning?
I think kids should be able to go to school. I do feel like the plan of having certain kids come on different days might be best, only because we can social distance them. I'm not really excited about the plan because, even when they do come back, it won't be the same. I like to keep my kids in groups and collaborate with one another. It will not be like that. You know, I'm a reading teacher. We have a reading carpet. I like to bring the kids over to the reading carpet. That won't be allowed. I mean, desks will be all facing one way. Recess time, they can't get on the equipment. They can't share balls. It won't be the same. I would love for it to just go back where we can all just be together. The wearing of the mask is going to be another issue, trying to make sure kids are keeping their mask on. They can't eat lunch in the cafeteria. They're going to be in one room. And the teachers have to move classrooms. The kids don't get to move around the building. So I would prefer to just, if we got to go to school like that, I would prefer not to. But I know how important it is for kids to be in school. But, you know, I'm kind of up in the air. I just want everybody to be safe. That's the main thing. You know, kids pretty much are okay with the virus from what I hear, but you know, they go home to, you know, caretakers and caregivers and grandma and grandpa, mom, dad, they may carry the virus to them. So, you know, it's just, I don't know. I don't have no way. I can't say one way or the other because I know how damaging it is for kids not to be in school, but I know how damaging it would be for someone to, you know, get sick and die from this virus. So, you know, it's really, I don't know, I'm a believer. So I just been praying, you know, I just been praying, trying to hope that this will work out for the best. But right now, I definitely think we should be remote.
Yes, definitely. I think so as well, because, I mean, we don't want to continue to, we want to flatten the curve and not continue to have it rise. So
absolutely.
Be in effect. But that concludes our show.
Thanks for having me, Deja.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I really had a good time, even though we had some problems and still have problems with the sound, but
that's okay. And I'm so proud of you. You make me proud. You're in college now. That's the best part of being a teacher is seeing your students grow up and do phenomenal things. And I wish you all the best finishing out your schooling.
Thank you so much. Like I said, thank you. Well, also don't forget to tune in to next week's show with Morgan at 11 and Nyla at 6. And furthermore, don't forget to check out the influencers on the Herald TV YouTube channel and like the Cincinnati Herald on Facebook and follow us at Cincinnati Herald on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. So thank you,
everyone.
Bye.